So this is going to be a spoiler review for Spider-Man Far From Home. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. It's well worth a watch. And I'm not going to do a separate non-spoiler review because there's not a whole lot to say. It's a good movie, just like any other Spider-Man movie, and it's probably well worth your money. By far the best thing in the film would be Mysterio. Mysterio is perfect. It's the best Mysterio we'll ever get represented in a movie. We get two big scenes where he uses his power to fight Spider-Man. The first one is my favorite, and I'm sure the scene is going to appear on YouTube somewhere. Spider-Man is just getting tossed around and doesn't know where reality begins and ends. We even have a scene where Iron Man comes up from the grave and we see like a skull under his helmet and he's coming at Spider-Man. That was pretty cool. That even when Iron Man is dead, he still makes an appearance in a Spider-Man movie. Not Robert Downey, of course, but in some way at the very least. So one of the things that we figure out when we watch the movie is that there's no multiverse made up by Mysterio to get what he wants, to become the next Iron Man. And I'm totally fine with no multiverse. It's probably best to not introduce something that complicated right now, because a multiverse might imply that there could be other versions of the same characters, and that would defeat death in the MCU. What's the point of being sad anymore if you just bring back another character or another version of that character? It just overcomplicates things and might always be an issue for future arcs, like for the next phase after this new one. At the very end of the movie, Mysterio basically reveals Spider-Man's true identity as Peter Parker, and he labels him as a villain, being the sole one to kill hundreds of people, and including himself. So that's going to be the future outlook on Spider-Man from now on, until that gets probably change in the next movie, but that's going to be something he's going to be dealing with. And in fact, the next villain might be someone rising up to fight Spider-Man, since now Spider-Man is seen as the villain. This could be the introduction of the Green Goblin, or someone that we haven't seen just yet to fight Spider-Man, even the Scorpion, who J. Jonah Jameson gets to fight, to find the killer who killed his wife, sort of thing, in the original comic book. But they can change that to have him hate Spider-Man so much he makes a Scorpion go after him, and he could be the next villain. Now, Spider-Man's identity is revealed, but I don't think it matters so much. At least it doesn't have the same impact as it did in the original Spider-Man movies in the early 2000s, because it didn't really have the same effect, at least emotionally, or I guess the same weight as, because Tony Stark already revealed who he was, Captain America did, we all kind of knew who the Avengers were, and there's no severe negative repercussions to having your identity revealed. At least that's not how it really seems, especially when you hang out with the Avengers for so long. Now, speaking of J. Jonah Jameson, it's pretty cool that they got the same actor to come back from the original 2000 Spider-Mans. That was a really smart move. Everyone in my theater, at the very least, was clapping at that. Now, one thing I'm worried about is, JJ's son is an astronaut, that basically the same astronaut that brought back the Venom symbiote from space. And we could be getting that kind of crossover with a Sony Venom movie, which would probably be a disaster. I really don't want those two to be connected, only because Sony has full control over the Venom property, and that Venom movie was very negatively received. Even though I kind of liked it, I do see some issues with it. I don't think those two would intermingle very well. But as for the ending and what it leaves us with, there's still an open book for any kind of plot they would have for future Spider-Man movies. It could be literally anything. There's no real hints at what. I'm glad they're toning down the, Avengers level enemies, but it still doesn't leave us with an understanding as to what's coming next for the next phase of the MCU. The post-credit scene for this movie does show a lot of Skrulls, and Nick Fury's on a spaceship full of Skrulls. I think that's hinting at Captain Marvel 2, so if you're interested in that, I guess that's something to be excited about. But that's still no hint for the next phase of the MCU and what the major thing is going to be about. So I think we're going to have to be waiting for the Comic-Con explanation when Kevin Feige comes out and lists out all the future movies they have planned. And that's kind of what I was looking forward to getting in this movie, but that's okay. Doesn't really matter. But all in all, it was a good movie. The beginning, as a lot of other reviewers have said, is definitely slow. It's like a high school drama. There's a lot of relationship stuff, and it's not really what I go to see a Spider-Man movie for, but I understand why they have to explore that. The humor for the movie was decent, I'd say. I don't know what it was. It just wasn't as funny as other Spider-Man movies, or even like Thor Ragnarok, that kind of thing. But it was still a good time, and I would definitely recommend the movie. It's not really essential viewing, I would say, but I guess it's a fine closure to Avengers Endgame, even though none of the old characters of the Avengers ever make an appearance in it. But yeah, that's basically it. That's all I really want to talk about for this movie. I'm very curious at what they have planned next, and I can't wait for Kevin Feige to actually reveal that. But yeah, remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.